absolutely not a breath of wind.
Yeah.
But there'd been wind up the channel, so there was quite a heavy easterly swell in the water.
Okay.
Even though it was like a beautiful summer's day, the water was. There wasn't a ripple on the water, as in small, but there was this
like
heavy.
kind
but there was this heavy swell in the water,
Right.
so it was quite an uncomfortable day.
Okay.
But ashore, it was like a summer's day. It was beautiful. So, but there was obviously wind, probably up the Isle of Wight or somewhere,
Yeah.
and the swell was rolling down the channel.
Okay.
And it wasn't horrible, but we went out thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be a beautiful summer's day, and it was, quite a rolly old day in the end. So that can have a play on it. But yeah, so obviously the wind makes the swell, but it's actually the swell that makes it uncomfortable.
Right.
That's what makes the boat roll.
Okay.
The wind, like I say, when we're in Falmouth Bay, you can go out in a storm if it's blowing northerly, because you'll get waves that are that big.
Okay.
And it doesn't affect the boat. It's blowing a gale, but it's nothing to worry about.
So that choppy kind of water doesn't really affect you?
No, it's more the big swell.
Yeah. So, if you're working on deck and it's blowing 10 northerly up in Falmouth Bay, you can still work in it, even though the wind shock's not going to blow you around.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we don't often go out in a northerly 10, but there's times when we could work in a lot worse weather.
Right.
So.
Okay.
But the actual wind doesn't really affect the job for trawling.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the swell.
And does the whether it's a spring or a neap affect you when you're trawling?
A little bit, but not to the extent it does with the
netters.
Yeah, the netters.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and then sometimes like the netters have to stop fishing because the tide.
Right.
And sometimes for us, the fishing is better on the big tide.
Really?
Yeah, depending on what we're catching. We're catching whitings at the minute, and they generally run better on the tide. So, yeah.
Okay.
And then other times, other fisheries aren't so good on the tide. So yeah. But we're not affected like the netters are. We can fish right through the tides if we wanted to.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the tides don't affect what it feels like to be in the boat for you.
No.
Does it affect? Are there any negative aspects of the tides you're fishing at all, like the way it affects the gear, or?
A tiny little bit with the gear. Like if you're turning a lot in a big tide, it affects the gear a bit. It closes the gear up when we're turning. But not. That's quite a minor thing, really.
Yeah.
So the tide affects landing in the air more than anything. It makes it awkward when the tide's awkward and we have to land in the outer harbour, forklift our fish in. But for actual at sea in the gear, it doesn't make a lot of difference.
Yeah. But with the swell, like if it's a really big swell and it's affecting
that affects the gear. Quite often we have to stop fishing, not because the weather's too bad, but because it affects the fishing, and you get to the point where it's not worth being out there for what's dropping out. It's not that you're thinking, oh God, this is getting dangerous.
Okay.
It just affects the fishing to the point it's not worth being there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, big swell, it'll sort of half your fishing if it's a big swell.
Wow.
So you get to the point you think, well, this isn't paying, and we'll leave it for another day, sort of thing.
Right.
So.
What do you think that is? What's going on down
I think it just lifts the gear off the bottom eventually, or everything's just so stirred up on the bottom.
Yeah.
And also the way, because we have our trawl doors, and then we have what we call bridle between the doors and the net, which creates like a dust, like a mud cloud or a dust cloud, which hurts the fish back into the net.
Okay.
Well, obviously, if the bottom's all stirred up and muddy and this doesn't work,
right?
Because the idea is it's nice clear water, and then this comes along and scares the fish to the net. Well, if it's all churned up anyway, that doesn't work, so that affects it. So generally, calm weather's better for our job, but you don't. Like this summer was exceptionally calm, and we were all praying for a gale, just to give the bottom a bit of a stir up, because it gets stagnant. It just, it never gets to turn over. And the crabbers are the same. The crabbers like a good blow once in a while, just to keep it turned over.
Right.
But generally, fine weather, we fish better.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So is there, when you're looking at your forecasts, or you're out at sea and you're seeing what the swell's like, how do you gauge? Do you literally just gauge it on what's coming up in the net, or do you get a feel for it? No,
you gauge it by what's coming up in the net.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, with us as well, we're a small boat with limited power.
Yeah.
So if you're towing into the swell, for example, every time you go over a wave and down, or you're hitting the sea, a big boat will just plough on through it. They've got
Right.
the length of keel, whereas our speed fluctuates a lot. So obviously the net isn't coming along on a constant,
Right.
and it just buggers up your fishing basically.
Okay.
So yeah, but you gauge it by what drops out.
Okay.
Yeah, if you all up after, if it's getting rough and you all up and it's going down all by all, you think it's only going to go one way. So.
yeah. And how often do you haul? Is it?
Depends what we're fishing for, but an average sort of every 3 to 4.5 hours.
Okay.
Depends what we're working for, but I suppose if you said every 4 hours, sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit less, but that would be an average.
Okay. And is it just days you're going out for, or?
Generally, yeah. There is times in the summer when we'll do 2 days.
Okay.
We don't. Well, we have done 3 days in the past, but generally a couple of days is enough. But if we can, we like to get in somewhere every night. Just,
Okay. Quality of life.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. And quite often, depends what you're working for, but generally daylight fishing is better for us.
Oh, okay.
Beamers will say the fishing's better in the dark because they're catching souls and stuff. For us, generally daylight fishing's better.
Okay.
So that's another reason we like to get in somewhere. We don't always come home. We'll go in Falmouth for a night, or we don't always end up back at home. But we try and get in somewhere if we can. And
just stay in a hotel or whatever. And
oh no, just stay on the boat.
Oh, okay.
Just stay on the boat. But we try and get in tied up alongside the pier somewhere if we can. Whether it's the Isles of Scilly or wherever, just get in somewhere like.
So, like on Wednesday, when you were, you've probably been at sea on Wednesday, I guess.
I've got a feeling Tuesday was our last day.
Okay.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah,
because you could see what was coming.
Yeah, because they were given bad weather. I knew it was going to be fine in the morning.
Okay.
But by dinner time, they were giving it horrible.
Right.
By dinner time, we would miss the tide in here.
Right.
So that was a prime example of, we couldn't really go. It wasn't even worth going out for one all and in sort of thing. So no, we finished up Tuesday night.
Okay. Well, when you were looking at the forecast, you're looking at the wind speeds. Do you look at the swells as well, or just the wind speeds?
No, I generally just look at the wind speed.
Okay. And how are you gauging that? Like, is there a number where you're like, whoa?
Well, again, it depends on the direction.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
If it's coming from the southwest or southerly, if it's getting up to 20, you think, no, that's not going to be very nice.
Okay.
But say, if it was northerly, you wouldn't really worry about it. No. Or northwest, you wouldn't worry about it. But, if it's southerly, southwest, if it's getting up into the 20s or around, you think, that's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
And again, if it was really good fishing, you might say, somebody will still go.
Okay.
But it's hard to pinpoint it and say, once it hits 22, that's the end of the story. Because it doesn't.
Is it a grey area?
There's a few variables can affect that decision.
Okay.
So there's no set sort of, that's the number and that's it.
Right.
And also, I mean, if you go away in the morning and it's flat calm and they're giving it 30 by the end of the day, you wouldn't go out in a 30.
Right.
But if you're out there and it's going to get gradually worse, but you're coming home, you can put up with it.
Okay.
So that comes into play as well. So some days, by the time you get in, how it is when you get in, you wouldn't have dreamt of going out in the morning, but it's fine in the morning, so. We don't very often do it the other way, where you go away, it's horrible, even though you know it's going to get better.
Why is that?
I don't know, it's sort of steaming out in the morning when it's horrible. And I suppose you're also, it's in the back of your mind, well, what happens if they got it wrong and they're going to be a few hours out? It's going to be horrible all day long, isn't it? Where if you go out and it's flat calm and they're giving it horrible by the day, like mid-afternoon, and it's a few hours out, you can end up with a lovely flat calm day all day.
Right.
So we're more inclined to do that than the other way.
Okay.
I think that's fair assumption of that.
And you mentioned how, like, if the fishing's been good, you're more likely to push the weather a bit harder.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that might get you to think about going out in worse weather?
I suppose if you've had a run of bad weather and you haven't had a lot of days in, and then there's a little bit of a window that's not the best of weather, and then it's looking really rubbish again, you would think, well, we're going to have to really try and get those 3 days in, because that might be the only 3 days we do in the next 7 or 8 days.
Okay.
So that would, you would be inclined to try a bit harder.
Okay.
Where if they're given a couple of horrible days, well, not horrible, but a couple of iffy days, if you like,
Right.
and then after that it looks like a run of a